Last year, I went to visit my team members in the Philippines and was able to basically deduct the entire trip, not just for me, but for my family members who came with me as well. This year, after I got through tax season, I went on my first cruise ever, and this time I brought the whole family. Today, I'm breaking down exactly when and how you can deduct a cruise and why most people get it wrong. And there's a lot of content out there that describes what the rules are, but what they don't tell you is that the rules disqualify most of the cruises that you'd probably think of. And even though the options aren't as vast as one might hope, after finally experiencing my first cruise, I'm looking into it as a valid business retreat option. Being able to deduct it just requires doing your research to make sure you check the right boxes. So the IRS does allow cruise deductions under two categories. The first is as transportation to and from a business destination. The second is as the location of a business meeting or convention. Both categories have fairly strict rules that determine the deductibility of the cruise. We're going to focus on number two, holding business meetings or company events on a cruise ship, because using a cruise to travel from one destination to another for business purposes is just so much more rare. Here's what the IRS says you need to deduct a cruise-based business convention. Rule number one, the cruise has to be directly related to your business. I maybe could have pulled this off by having every member of my family on my board of advisors and taking the trip with a specific business purpose, but even though that sounds good on TikTok, it just isn't very realistic. It can't involve random business conversations over a drink. There needs to be a structured business purpose. Rule number two, the ship has to be registered in the US. I was with Royal Caribbean, and even though they're a US-based company, their ships are largely registered in the Bahamas. Why? Tax reasons. So even if I did have a legitimate business purpose, the deduction would have been disqualified by this rule alone. And we've still got 4 more to go over. I'll come back to this one. Rule number 3 says that all ports must be in the US or US territories. In other words, anywhere you stop needs to be in the United States. That means my cruise was disqualified the second we ported into the Bahamas. Rule number 4, the meeting must be 5 days or less, and that doesn't include the travel days before and after the cruise. We did a 4-night cruise, so this one's relatively easy to qualify for. Rule number 5, you need documentation. You're supposed to attach written statements to your tax return showing dates, hours spent, business agenda, and proof of attendance. Rule number 6, you're capped at $2,000 per person per year. No matter how expensive the cruise is, $2,000 is the most that you can deduct per person. And yes, that $2,000 only covers cruise expenses, not flights or hotels before or after the cruise. Those expenses, those flights, hotels, and meals before and after the cruise don't count toward the $2,000, but you can deduct those other expenses under normal business travel rules as long as the cruise itself qualifies. Okay, so going back to rule number 2 about the being registered in the US and rule number 3 that says US ports only. Cruise lines that typically don't qualify because their ships are mainly registered outside the United States include Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Disney, Celebrity, MSC, all foreign flagged ships, as well as any cruise with stops in the Bahamas, Mexico, Jamaica, Canada, and so on. The only large cruise ship I could find in my research that's actually registered in the US and ports mainly at US locations is the Pride of America ship that's ironically part of the Norwegian Cruise Line fleet. It sails year-round in Hawaii and ports in Honolulu, Maui, Kauai, Hilo, and Kona. That doesn't sound too bad to me. And even if you do meet those requirements, casual team-building cruises with no documentation or a clear business agenda aren't going to qualify. So what existing cruises actually qualify? Not many. Generally, if you're going to stick to US ports, your best bet is to stick with small ship cruise lines or river cruises. So instead of the large mega ships that hold over 5,000 passengers, you'll be looking more at smaller ships that hold between 50 and 200 passengers. Honestly though, after being around so many people, the idea of a calmer and smaller setting is something I'd like to try. You could find one that goes to Alaska, Hawaii, or Puerto Rico. So there are options if you're okay with finding one that checks all the boxes. So yes, you can deduct a cruise, but the bar is really high and most people don't do their due diligence to make sure they qualify. I did deduct my Philippines trip because it was a legitimate work trip. We had client meetings, there was a clear business purpose, and we have plenty of documentation. The Bahamas cruise I just took, just a great family vacation, and I'm okay with that for now. If you have questions, concerns, or general uncertainty throughout the year and wish you just had somewhere to turn with someone in your corner, consider joining my Financial Insiders membership. For less than the cost of one consultation, you can get access for the entire year. Live calls, video responses, a private community, guest speakers, anonymous tax return reviews. It's an incredible value and I'd love to help. Get more information in the links below for that and for more resources to help you optimize your tax situation and overcome the anxiety so you can focus on building your business profitably.